Alrighty, David. It's been lovely chatting with you so far. I had a moment here and I want to go ahead and kind of jumpstart this interview. So I have your resume pulled up and I want to kind of highlight your experience because your experience is mainly sales, right? So you've been in sales for a little over 20 years now. You did start in high school out of your locker, as you mentioned. It's a funny story. I would love for you to mention it. But you've been a sales manager. You worked for Sun State Ford, and then at Rush Truck Center as a commercial account manager for about 10 years or so. Now, with that, David, I would love for you to tell me a little bit about your professional experience when it comes down to sales, and we'll go from there.
Well, I started outside of vending beer at a arena and amphitheater and selling out of my high school locker, doing a poster business. I worked jobs, and I consider jobs to be just over broke, and I really hadn't found a career yet. And I was coming home from work one night and was watching a TV show called King of Cars. And I looked at my wife and I said, I could do that. And she said, then go do it. So that's how I got started in the automotive retail business. And I started as what's referred to in the industry as a green pea. I had no professional experience. Started out on the lot as the guy when you pull up to a car dealership, the guy that swarms to your car like the best analogy is like maggots on rotting meat. The way they swarm at you. I would come up, greet you, and do a needs assessment, land you on a vehicle, and try to convince you to part with the money it took to own the product. And I moved up from there. I found a great deal of success right away, and moved up into the internet sales department. And when you're in the internet sales department, you're answering the inbound leads from a consumer who's already funneled down in the market, and they've decided, okay, I'm buying a Ford, I'm buying a Fusion. Now I got to decide who I want to buy it from and who has what I want. And then my job was then to convert those leads into appointments and sales. And again, I excelled very quickly at that. And within about 3 years in that position, I moved up to running that department, instead of being a part of it. So I became the sales manager over the internet department and the sales manager over the business development center, which was the inbound and outbound call center for sales and all fixed operations for the dealership. So we handled all the heat cases. We handled all the sales inquiries, and we set all the appointments for the people coming in to deal with the guys out front. Um, I was in that position for about 5 years. And at that time, the retail side started having some issues. The economy was starting to take a hit. And I got a phone call from a former employee that said, hey, why don't you come to work at Rush? And I said, what's Rush? I'd never even heard of them. And he said, well, it's a Ford dealership, but it's commercial trucks. It's instead of selling to consumers and their everyday drivers, you're selling business to business, and you're dealing with large fleets. And with everything you know about the industry and everything you know about the vehicle, man, you'd be great for it. It's all about relationships and building relationships and not necessarily selling the sizzle, as it were. So I said, I don't know, John. And he said, it's 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, no weekends, no holidays. They give you a car allowance. They give you a phone allowance. I said, John, you have me at 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, because I'd been working 9 to 9, 6, 7 days a week, doing 60, 70-hour weeks. I have 4 kids. They're all adults now, but when they were kids, I never saw them. I missed so many things because I was always at work. That was why coming to this position 10 years ago was a no-brainer. I was no longer a manager and didn't have those responsibilities, and I could just use the skills that I had acquired previous to becoming a manager. And just my income was unlimited. I mean, I had a great base salary. I had a car allowance. I had a phone allowance. I had the best schedule in the world, and then all the products at my disposal. So I've really thrived in this role in the last 10 years. I've built up quite an account base. Um, I've decreased my my comp to gross ratio by 35% year over year for the last 3 years. So the company loves me because I make them a ton of money and they don't hardly have to pay me any of it from what I make. But I have a very comfortable life. But the tariff situation and the state of the economy and the impact it's having on the automotive side, I'm seeing the tea leaves. I'm seeing the writing on the wall, and I don't want to wait for the bottom to fall out before I decide, okay, this side of the industry is dying. It's going to get to the point to where, because the profit margin shrinks so much due to the increased price of the goods, there's already talk of replacing some of the salespeople with AI, because it, in a manner of speaking, once you have the relationship established, all you need is an order taker at that point. So there's talk about restructuring and having a handful of people who go out and maintain the relationships with the CFOs, the controllers, and the people that make the money decisions. But then for the actual processing of the sales of the vehicles, doing it all via AI. And that's not an industry that's where I'm gonna be able to thrive in my current capacity. While I've been doing this 19 and a half years with Ford, 10 with Rush, 9.5 with Sunstate prior. There are people that have been with Rush in Orlando. Rush is the largest commercial truck dealer in the country. We have 130 locations nationwide, and we're in Canada. So, I mean, we have a ton of locations, and we have a ton of people. And unless things get to the way they are right now, people don't leave this company. I mean, you have to get willed a position. I filled the role of someone who passed away, who had been with the company for 52 years. People don't leave this place unless things get bad. Things are getting bad. But there are people that have been here longer than I have, that if they downsize and they say, okay, we're keeping, say, just for round numbers, we're keeping 5 guys that are going to maintain the relationships, and then the AI is going to process the inbound orders. I'm not one of those 5 guys that are going to get kept on. I'm one of the 15 to 20 that are going to be told, hey, thank you for your time, you know. And I'm too old to start over again. So sales is where I belong. I know it's what I do well. So finding the right opportunity, the opportunity I read about in your Indeed listing seemed like a good fit to me. There's a couple of things that, you know, perfect world scenario, I would change about the comp plan as I understand it, but by and large, it seems like the right fit. I don't live far from a Pop Guy. I live in Winter Garden, so it's not a long drive for me.
Awesome. Well, David, that was an amazing introduction to who you are, where you came from, and where you're looking to be next. Now, David, you know, you mentioned a lot of your success, the stories that come with that. And so how were you able, or what was your approach to outreaching new leads, or even your approach to cold calling new prospects?
I'm very transparent. I don't sugarcoat things. I don't believe in overpromise and underdeliver. I believe in the complete and polar opposite. If I get a quote from a body company and the body company guy says, hey man, you're looking at 4 to 6 weeks before the truck is being completed, I'm telling my end user that's buying the truck, it's going to be 7 to 8 weeks. That way, when I call him in 5 weeks and say, hey, your truck's done, he's like, wow, that's ahead of schedule. Yep. I pushed some buttons. I made it happen for you. You know, it just builds that rapport. It keeps that relationship established. And another big factor as to why I sometimes, at least in my location, I have more success than some of my peers is because of my religion, and my faith. I will not lie. I'm like, you know, you think of the George Washington parable about, you know, when he said, chop down the cherry tree, he could not tell a lie. I will not tell a lie. I have worked for my previous dealership where they told us to lie to people, and I won't do it. I've got to sleep at night at the end of the day. And if I have to compromise my morals and my integrity, it's not the right fit for me. And I refuse to do that. I believe that in accountability and standing up for what I believe in, and at the same time executing those things to the best of my ability.
Absolutely.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it
All right.
very much does. And you know, that's what makes me more excited about you is your, for one, from what I can hear, you're empathetic, your understanding as well from what the client needs. And that's why I feel as though you'd be a great fit for this company. I asked you off camera, when were you looking to start a new role? Because you're currently at this role at Rush. So how soon, if given the opportunity to start, would you be available to start?
Professional etiquette says give a 2 weeks notice. So, I mean, it's the 15th of the month. Ideally, you know, we're in a perfect world scenario. This process is going to take probably another 3 to 5 days at the very bare minimum. I'd like to be able to give a 2 week notice. It's just the right thing to do, especially being here as long as I have been. However, at the same time, for all intents and purposes, I'm firing the company. If the company were firing me, would they give me a 2 week notice? Hey, man, we're going to let you go in 2 weeks. Here's time to find another job. No, they'd tell me clean out your desk at 5 o'clock. You know, so I'm kind of torn. If in the right scenario with the right, you know, as we discussed, that going over the compensation plan with the prospective employer would determine if I was willing to part ways sooner.
Perfect. Well, that's amazing, David. I appreciate your honesty with that as well. Now, this is going to conclude our interview. I am going to go ahead and stop the recording, but it was amazing getting to know a professional.
I did want to say one other thing that I think is beneficial for a prospective employer to hear.
Yes.
My experience may not be in the industry in which you're in, but I believe that sales is sales. I can sell you the gum off the bottom of my shoe and make you think, man, I got to have that piece of gum. It's anybody can learn a product. Anybody can learn a system, can learn software, can learn hardware, can learn technical things. I believe I possess skills that you can't learn, that you can't be taught. Just the confidence level, the ability to close, the ability to get in front of someone, and at least in my profession, the sales side of the industry that I'm in, I firmly believe that if somebody gets in front of me and they can buy, they will buy from me. I will take them out of the market. I don't care if there's 140 other competitors in town that sell the same thing that I do. I'm going to be the one they buy from. And that's something I would bring to the table for any employer.
Absolutely. That was a great closing statement. And honestly, with your confidence, I would probably buy the gum off your shoe or whatever shoe it's under, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm sold. So, no, this has been amazing, David. I appreciate our conversation. It's been amazing. So I'm going to stop the recording, but don't hang up on me. I want to continue chatting with you really quickly.
10-4.
Thank you.